Spirit Man Universe presents Episode Spirit Man Universe presents Episode 7 The Witches of the Withered Vale. The emerald waters of the vast ocean shimmered under the midday sun, a stark contrast to the ominous, jagged peaks that clawed at the sky on the horizon. This was the Withered Vale, an island whispered about in hushed tones, a place of ancient power and darker secrets. Skylar, known to the world as Spirit Man, felt the familiar hum of cosmic energy thrumming through him. Beside him, his wife, Even, the sovereign vessel of the eternal power, radiated a calm, potent aura, her eyes, the color of twilight, fixed on the approaching landmass. "The energy signature is strong here, Skylar," Even murmured, her voice a soothing balm against the rising unease. "But it's twisted, corrupted." Skylar nodded, his gaze sweeping over the desolate landscape. The whispers were true. 4 ancient beings, drawing power from this place. But the source of their power, it feels wrong. Their journey had been long, a desperate chase across continents, following a trail of inexplicable energy fluctuations that had begun to affect global leaders. Reports of sudden, debilitating weakness, of minds clouded with an unnatural lethargy, had reached their ears, and the common thread always led back to this secluded, forgotten corner of the world. As their specialized craft touched down on a rocky outcrop, the air grew heavy, thick with the scent of decay and something else, something acrid and ancient. The island was a tapestry of gnarled, leafless trees and barren, wind-swept plains. A chilling wind snaked through the desolate terrain, carrying with it the faint echo of a mournful chant. "They know we're here," Skylar said, his voice low. He could feel unseen eyes watching them, the palpable weight of their presence pressing down. Even placed a hand on his arm, her touch grounding. "Let us face them then. Whatever they are doing, it ends today." They moved inland, guided by the unsettling energy. The landscape seemed to shift and writhe around them, the shadows deepening, the silence becoming oppressive. The further they ventured, the more pronounced the feeling of being drained became, a subtle but persistent leaching of their own vitality. Suddenly, the ground before them shimmered, and 4 figures coalesced from the swirling mists. They were women, their forms cloaked in tattered dark robes, their faces etched with an age that defied human comprehension. Their eyes, however, burned with a fierce, unnatural light. "Spirit Man and the sovereign vessel," one of them rasped, her voice like dry leaves skittering across stone. "You trespass on sacred ground." "Sacred ground that you have defiled," Skylar countered, his own energy flaring, a protective shield forming around them. "We know what you are doing. We know what you have done." A cruel smile spread across the first witch's lips. "And what is it that we do, little mortal? We merely preserve what is precious. We maintain our existence, a gift denied to so many." The other witches stepped forward, their movements unnervingly fluid, their ancient eyes glinting with a shared malice. "The life essence of the world's leaders," Even stated, her voice firm, resonating with the power she commanded. "You have been siphoning it, stealing their vitality to sustain yourselves, to retain your human forms." The witches exchanged glances, a flicker of surprise, quickly replaced by amusement. "Human forms?" the second witch scoffed. "We are far beyond such fragile things. We are the witches of the Withered Vale, and we command the ebb and flow of life itself. Those leaders, they are but vessels. their ambition and their power ripe for the taking. They serve a greater purpose, a purpose that ensures our continued reign. Their purpose is to live their lives, to lead their people, not to be your personal battery, Schuyler retorted, his fists clenching. He could feel the subtle drain on his own energy intensifying, a testament to the witch's power. "And what right do you have to interfere?" the third witch sneered, her voice dripping with contempt. "You, who wield borrowed power. We have earned our strength through millennia of sacrifice and dominion." "Sacrifice? Dominion?" Even's voice boomed, her power surging. The very air around them crackled with cosmic energy. "You speak of sacrifice while you drain the life from others. You speak of dominion while you hide in shadows, preying on the weak. Your power is not earned, it is stolen." The fourth witch, a gaunt figure with eyes like chips of obsidian, finally spoke, her voice a chilling whisper that seemed to claw at their very souls. "You underestimate us. We are the Withered Vale. We are the end of all things that dare to stand against us." As she spoke, the ground beneath them began to tremble. The gnarled trees twisted further, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. Shadows coalesced, forming monstrous shapes that lunged at Schuyler and Even. Schuyler unleashed a torrent of pure energy, a radiant blast that dispersed the shadowy apparitions. He moved with incredible speed, dodging the spectral attacks, his own power a beacon in the encroaching darkness. Even, meanwhile, focused her attention on the witches themselves. She raised her hands, and a swirling vortex of pure, unadulterated power erupted around her. The ancient energy of the eternal power clashed with the corrupted magic of the Withered Vale, creating a blinding spectacle of light and shadow. "Your reign of terror ends now," Even declared, her voice amplified by the cosmic forces she commanded. The witches shrieked, their cloaks whipping around them as they recoiled from the sheer force of Even's power. They retaliated, unleashing torrents of dark energy, tendrils of shadow that sought to ensnare and drain. Schuyler intercepted one of these tendrils, his spiritual energy burning through it like a torch. He saw an opening. Even, their connection to the island. "It's their anchor." Even understood. The Withered Vale was not just their home, it was the conduit through which they siphoned life essence. If they could sever that connection, their power would wane. "Then we shall sever it," Even cried. She focused her energy, not on the witches directly, but on the very ground beneath them. She channeled the eternal power into the earth, a surge of pure, life-giving energy that fought against the corruption that permeated the island. The Withered Vale groaned in protest. The twisted trees recoiled, their branches snapping. The witches cried out in agony as their anchors began to fray. "No! You cannot!" the first witch screamed, her form flickering. "This is our domain!" the second witch shrieked, her voice laced with desperation. Schuyler saw his chance. While Even continued to assault the island's corrupted core, he launched himself towards the witches. He unleashed a focused blast of spiritual energy, not to destroy, but to disrupt. His power, pure and uncorrupted, acted like a cleansing fire, burning away the stolen life essence that sustained them. The witches staggered, their forms becoming increasingly ethereal. The stolen vitality, no longer replenished, began to recede. The unnatural youth they had maintained began to crumble, revealing the ancient, withered husks beneath. "You meddling fools!" the third witch hissed, her face contorting in rage. "You will pay for this," the fourth witch vowed, her voice a fading whisper. Even's final surge of power struck the heart of the island. A blinding white light erupted, followed by a deafening roar. The corrupted energy that had festered for millennia was cleansed, replaced by a wave of pure, revitalizing power. The withered Vale, once a place of decay and despair, began to transform. The gnarled trees straightened, their branches sprouting vibrant green leaves. The barren plains bloomed with a riot of color. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, replaced by a refreshing, invigorating breeze. As for the witches, their forms dissolved completely, their essence scattered like dust on the wind. They were no longer beings of power, but mere echoes, their selfish existence extinguished. Skylar and Even stood amidst the transformed landscape, breathing in the fresh, clean air. The subtle drain they had felt was gone, replaced by a sense of rejuvenation. "They are gone," Skylar said, a sense of relief washing over him. "Their corruption has been purged," Even confirmed, her power now a gentle hum, flowing in harmony with the revitalized island. "The leaders they preyed upon will recover. Their life essence will return." They looked out at the ocean, the sun glinting on the now tranquil waters. The withered Vale, once a symbol of dark magic and parasitic existence, had been reborn. The witches of the withered Vale were no more, their selfish reign brought to an end by the unwavering resolve of Spirit Man and the sovereign vessel of the eternal power. Their mission was complete, and the balance of life, for now, had been restored. The salt spray stung Even's face, a familiar, biting sensation that usually brought a sense of homecoming. But this time, it felt like a taunt. The island, their island, was a ruin. Twisted metal, shattered stone, and the acrid scent of ozone hung heavy in the air, a morbid perfume of their recent victory. They had stopped the Withered Vale witches, or so they thought. Skylar, as known as Spirit Man, his usually stoic face etched with a weariness that went beyond physical exhaustion, knelt beside a collapsed section of the old lighthouse. "Anything?" Even, known as Sovereign Vessel of the Eternal Power, asked, her voice raspy. Spirit Man shook his head, his gaze sweeping over the devastation. "Nothing but emptiness. The energy signatures are gone. Whatever they were doing, it's over." "Over?" Even scoffed, kicking a loose stone. "Look around, Skylar. This isn't over. This is a prelude." They had expected a fight, a confrontation with the Coven. They had anticipated the dark magic, the ancient curses. What they hadn't anticipated was the sheer, destructive power unleashed, a power that had ripped through their defenses and left their home in tatters. And the witches? They had vanished, leaving behind only the echoing silence of their departure. Spirit Man, his ethereal form flickering in the harsh sunlight, hovered near the jagged remains of the lighthouse's foundation. He had been searching too, his spectral senses sifting through the debris, seeking any lingering trace of the witch's magic. "There is something," Spirit Man's voice, a resonant hum that seemed to emanate from everywhere at once, announced. "Beneath the rubble, a concentration of residual energy, unlike anything I've encountered before." Even and Skylar exchanged a look. "A chamber?" Even guessed. Spirit Man nodded, his form coalescing slightly, pointing towards a section of the ground where the earth seemed to have sunk in unnaturally. "Yes, hidden, shielded." With renewed purpose, they began to clear the debris. It was back-breaking work, but the prospect of answers, of understanding what had just happened, fueled their efforts. As they dug, the air grew colder, a damp chill that seeped into their bones. Then, Schuyler's shovel struck something solid, something that wasn't stone. It was a metal plate, intricately carved with symbols that pulsed with a faint internal light. Even her fingers tracing the alien glyphs felt a prickle of recognition, a whisper of forgotten knowledge. These are ancient, older than anything on this island. Spirit Man drifted closer, his spectral eyes, pools of pure light, fixated on the plate. They speak of a prophecy, a warning. Together, they managed to pry the plate open, revealing a dark, yawning chasm. A narrow staircase, carved from the same strange metal, descended into the earth. The air that rose from it was heavy with the scent of damp earth and something else, something ancient and potent. Spirit Man, can you sense anything down there? Even asked, her hand instinctively going to the hilt of her energy blade. The energy is immense, Spirit Man replied, his voice tinged with awe. But it is dormant, waiting. Spirit Man, ever pragmatic, lit a high-intensity flare, its bright light cutting through the oppressive darkness. Looks like we're going down. The descent was long and silent, the only sound their own breathing and the soft scrape of their boots on the metal stairs. The chamber at the bottom was vast, circular, and unlike anything they had ever seen. The walls were covered in the same glowing glyphs, swirling and shifting as if alive. In the center of the chamber, resting on a pedestal of dark, obsidian-like rock, was a single ornate amulet. It pulsed with a soft, rhythmic light, mirroring the glyphs on the walls. Even felt an inexplicable pull towards it, a magnetic force drawing her forward. The prophecy, she murmured, her eyes scanning the glyphs. When the four rise, the fifth shall awaken. Spirit Man, his gaze fixed on the amulet, spoke slowly. The four, the witches, they were not the true threat. They were merely the catalysts. Spirit Man drifted towards the walls, his spectral form passing through the glyphs as if they were mere projections. The prophecy speaks of a power beyond the witches, a primal force, bound to this chamber, to this amulet. The witches sought to control it, to harness its might. But they were merely instruments. Even reached out, her fingers hovering just above the amulet. A jolt of raw power, cold and ancient, coursed through her. It was overwhelming, intoxicating. She recoiled, her hand trembling. "The fifth witch," she breathed, the words catching in her throat. They weren't just trying to destroy us. They were trying to awaken her. Spirit Man stepped forward, his hand placed firmly on Even's shoulder. And they failed. We stopped them. But Spirit Man's form flickered violently, a distress signal flashing through his ethereal being. No, they did not fail. The prophecy, it is not about them awakening her. It is about her awakening when the four rise. The ritual was completed. The energy was released. The fifth witch. She is coming. Even's blood ran cold. The witches were gone, but their work was done. The devastation they had wrought was not an end, but a beginning. Suddenly, the glyphs on the walls flared, their light intensifying to a blinding white. The amulet on the pedestal pulsed erratically, its rhythmic beat replaced by a frantic thrumming. The ground beneath them began to shake, a deep, guttural rumble that vibrated through their very souls. "What is happening?" Spirit Man yelled, his voice strained over the growing din. "The chamber is reacting," Spirit Man's voice was a desperate cry. "The binding is weakening. The fifth witch, she is stirring." Even looked at the amulet, then at the glyphs. The prophecy wasn't just a warning, it was a description of a process. The witches, the four, had risen, had performed their ritual, and now the fifth was about to awaken. "We have to stop her," Even declared, her voice ringing with newfound resolve. "Even if she's not a witch in the traditional sense, even if she's something else, we have to contain her." The shaking intensified, cracks appearing in the chamber walls, spewing forth a blinding ethereal light. A vortex of pure energy began to form above the amulet, swirling faster and faster, drawing in the light from the glyphs. "The amulet is the key," Spirit Man's voice was barely audible above the roar. "It is the anchor. If it is destroyed, the fifth witch will be free." Spirit Man drew his energy blade, its familiar hum a small comfort in the face of the encroaching chaos. "Then we destroy it." "No!" Even cried, grabbing his arm. "If we destroy it, she's free. We have to rebind her. We have to use the amulet's power against her." The vortex above the amulet was now a raging storm of light and energy. A form began to coalesce within it, a shape that was both terrifying and beautiful, a being of pure, untamed power. It was the fifth witch, and she was awakening. Even looked at the amulet, then at Spirit Man. They had faced impossible odds before. They had stood against darkness and prevailed. This was no different. This was their fight. "Spirit Man," Even said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "Can you channel your energy into the amulet? Reinforce its binding?" Spirit Man nodded, his form already moving towards the pedestal, a beacon of light against the encroaching darkness. "Spirit Man," Even continued, her gaze locking with his. "I'm going to try and draw her attention. Keep her focused on me. You protect the amulet." Spirit Man gripped his blade, his knuckles white. "Even, be careful." Even took a deep breath, her eyes fixed on the swirling vortex. She could feel the immense power of the fifth witch, a power that dwarfed anything she had ever encountered. But she also felt the power within herself, the resilience, the determination. "All right," she whispered. And then, with a surge of controlled energy, she projected her presence towards the vortex. "You want power? You want freedom? Come and get it." The vortex stilled for a moment, the nascent form within it turning its attention towards Even. A single, luminous eye, filled with an ancient, boundless hunger, opened within the storm of light. As the fifth witch's gaze fell upon Even, the vortex began to descend. A torrent of pure energy aimed directly at her. Even braced herself, her own energy flaring in defiance. Meanwhile, Spirit Man, his spectral form shimmering with effort, was pouring his essence into the amulet. The glyphs on the walls pulsed in response, their light strengthening, forming a cage of pure energy around the amulet. Spirit Man stood guard, his blade a shimmering barrier, deflecting stray tendrils of energy that lashed out from the vortex. He could feel the immense pressure building, the very fabric of reality straining against the fifth witch's power. The vortex struck Even, not with physical force, but with an overwhelming wave of raw energy. It was like being submerged in an ocean of pure power, a force that threatened to consume her. But Even held firm, channeling her own energy, her spirit, into the onslaught. She was not just defending herself, she was acting as a conduit, a shield, drawing the fifth witch's focus away from the amulet. The fifth witch roared, a sound that was not of this world, a sound of pure, unadulterated rage and frustration. Even's defiance was an unexpected obstacle, a challenge to her imminent freedom. "Now, Spirit Man!" Even yelled, her voice barely audible. Spirit Man, his spectral form almost completely depleted, gave a final mighty surge of energy. The amulet flared, and the glyphs on the walls snapped shut, forming a perfect, unyielding sphere of light around the pedestal. The vortex, the embodiment of the fifth witch's unleashed power, slammed against the barrier, recoiling as if it had struck solid rock. The fifth witch shrieked, a sound of pure agony and fury. Her form began to dissipate, the raw energy being forced back into the amulet, back into the binding. The vortex imploded, a silent, blinding flash of light. Then, silence. The shaking stopped. The oppressive energy receded. The chamber was still, save for the faint, rhythmic pulse of the amulet, now glowing with a steady, contained light. Even, trembling, sank to her knees, exhaustion washing over her. Spirit Man rushed to her side, his hand on her arm, steadying her. Spirit Man, a faint shimmer of his former self, drifted towards the amulet. She is contained. For now, the binding is re-established. Even looked at the amulet, then at the glyphs, now quiescent on the walls. They had faced the fifth witch, the ultimate threat, and they had won. But the victory was fragile. The prophecy remained. The fifth witch was bound, not destroyed. She will awaken again, Even said, her voice heavy with the weight of that knowledge. Spirit Man nodded, his gaze grim. And when she does, we will be ready. Spirit Man, his form slowly regaining its strength, looked at Even. The Withered Vale witches were pawns. They were the first domino. But we have learned. We understand the true danger now. And we will protect this world. Even stood, her legs still shaky, but her spirit unbroken. The island was in ruins, their home scarred. But they had saved it, and the world beyond, from a power they could barely comprehend. The fight was far from over. The fifth witch was coming, and they would be waiting.